There is a voice inside of you that is more powerful than any symptom you feel, more authoritative than any report you've been given, and more real than the pain trying to dominate your body. Inspirational. Most people have never been taught how to use that voice. They've been trained to listen to their body, to agree with weakness, to repeat what they feel instead of declaring what they believe. But faith does not respond to circumstances. It speaks to them. You were never designed to be at the mercy of your body. Your body was created to respond to you. And when your spirit is filled with faith, your words carry authority to confidence. Not because of emotion, not because of effort, but because faith is a spiritual force. And when that force is released through your words, it begins to change things in the unseen before it ever shows up in the seen. So many are waiting on healing to come from the outside, hoping, wishing, begging, and wondering if it's ever going to happen. But the truth is, healing has already been provided, and faith is the hand that reaches out and takes hold of it. And one of the greatest ways you release that faith is by speaking directly to your body and commanding it to line up with what God has already said. Your body may be talking. It may be screaming with symptoms, discomfort, or fear, but you don't answer your body with fear. You answer it with faith. You don't echo the problem. You declare the promise. Because when you begin to speak in faith, you are not denying the condition. You are declaring a higher truth that has the power to change it. This is not about pretending. This is not about ignoring reality. This is about establishing which reality has the final authority. And when you understand that your words, spoken in faith, carry the authority of God's promises, everything begins to shift. There comes a moment where you stop asking and you start declaring. A moment where you stop hoping and you start commanding. A moment where you look at your body, not with fear, not with doubt, but with boldness, and you say, you will obey the word of God. You will align with health. You will respond to faith. And when you reach that place, something changes, not just in your body, but in you. Faith rises, authority becomes real, and what once felt impossible begins to move. Faith does not sit quietly observing what the body is doing. Faith speaks directly to it with authority, confidence, and expectation. Most people have been conditioned to talk about their problems instead of talking to them. They describe the pain, repeat the diagnosis, rehearse the symptoms, and in doing so, they unknowingly strengthen the very thing they desire to overcome. But faith operates in a completely different way. Faith refuses to magnify the problem and instead chooses to confront it with words that are rooted in a higher truth. When you begin to understand that your body is not your master, but your servant, everything begins to shift in how you respond to physical challenges. Your body may present facts, but faith declares truth. And truth, when spoken with conviction, has the power to override facts. This is why speaking to your body is not strange or unnecessary. It is essential. Your words become the instrument through which faith is released, and your body becomes the target that must respond. There is a spiritual law at work here. What you continually say is what you will eventually see. If your words are filled with fear, doubt, and agreement with sickness, your body will continue in that direction. But if your words are filled with faith, authority, and agreement with healing, your body has no choice but to begin aligning itself with what is being spoken. It may not happen instantly, and it may not always be visible at first, but something begins to move the moment faith-filled words are released. Speaking to your body requires intention. It requires you to stop reacting emotionally and start responding spiritually. Instead of saying, I feel so sick, you rise up and say, body, you are strong, you are healed, you are functioning the way you were created to function. Instead of giving your attention to discomfort, you give your attention to truth, and then you enforce that truth with your words. This is not about denying what you feel. It is about refusing to let what you feel have the final say. Authority and faith comes from knowing, not guessing. When you know that healing belongs to you, when you are convinced that it has already been made available, your words begin to carry a different weight. They are no longer empty statements or hopeful wishes. They become commands backed by belief, and your body responds differently to commands than it does to complaints. Consistency is key in this process. One moment of speaking in faith followed by hours of speaking in doubt will not produce the results you desire. Faith must be maintained. Your words must remain aligned with what you believe, regardless of what your body is trying to communicate. This is where discipline comes in. You train yourself to speak life, even when everything around you seems to be saying the opposite. As you continue to speak to your body in faith, something begins to happen on the inside of you. Confidence grows. Fear loses its grip. Doubt begins to fade, and your focus shifts from the condition to the promise. Your words start to carry more authority because they are flowing from a place of deep conviction. You are no longer trying to convince yourself. You are enforcing what you already believe to be true over time. Your body begins to respond to the consistent command of faith-filled words. What once resisted begins to yield. What once felt dominant begins to weaken. And what once seemed impossible begins to move in a new direction, because faith was never meant to stay silent. It was always meant to speak directly to the situation and bring it into alignment. Your words are never empty. They are containers of belief, carrying either faith or doubt, life or limitation. Many people speak constantly, but few realize the weight their words carry in the realm of the Spirit. It is not just what you say, but what you believe when you say it that determines the authority behind your words. When belief is absent, words become weak, uncertain, and ineffective. But when your words are backed by deep, unwavering belief, they carry a force that begins to shape reality. Authority does not come from volume, repetition alone, or emotional intensity. It comes from conviction. You can speak loudly and still have no power if your heart is filled with doubt. But even quiet words, when rooted in true belief, can carry tremendous authority. This is why developing your belief is essential. Before your words can consistently produce results, your heart must be settled in what it knows to be true. Many people are trying to speak healing, but inside they are questioning, wondering, and struggling to believe. Their words say one thing, but their heart is divided. And a divided heart cannot produce strong, authoritative speech. This is why faith must be built intentionally. It grows as you feed on truth, meditate on it, and allow it to take root deep within you. As belief strengthens, your words naturally begin to change. They become more confident, more stable, and more aligned with what you truly accept as reality. When belief and words come into agreement, something powerful is released. There is a spiritual alignment that takes place where your inner conviction and your spoken declaration move together in the same direction. This is where authority is born. Your words are no longer empty expressions. They become commands that carry the backing of what you truly believe. And your body, along with every circumstance connected to it, begins to respond differently to that kind of speech. It is important to guard what you say, especially in moments when pressure increases. When symptoms intensify or when progress seems slow, the temptation is to let your words drift back into doubt. But this is where many lose their authority. The moment your words begin to contradict your belief, power is diminished. Consistency in speech is not just a discipline, it is a necessity if you want to see lasting results. You must train yourself to speak from belief, not from feeling. Feelings can change from moment to moment, but true belief remains steady. If you allow your words to follow your feelings, your speech will become unstable and unreliable. But when your words are anchored in belief, they remain firm regardless of what is happening around you. This kind of speech builds momentum. It strengthens your faith even further and reinforces the authority you carry. Another key is refusing to speak what you do not want to see. Every time you repeat negative reports or agree with undesirable conditions, you are reinforcing them. Even casual words have impact. What may seem like harmless conversation can slowly erode your belief and weaken your authority. This is why discipline over your words is critical. You choose to speak only what aligns with the truth you have accepted, even when it requires effort and awareness. As your belief continues to grow, speaking with authority becomes more natural. You no longer struggle to find the right words or wonder if they will work. There is a confidence that rises within you, a knowing that what you say carries weight. And this confidence is not based on self, but on the truth you have embraced and allowed to become part of you. Over time, your words begin to produce visible results, not because you are striving harder, but because your belief has become stronger. Your speech becomes consistent, your authority becomes evident, and what you declare starts to manifest in ways that once seemed out of reach. Your body may present facts, but there is a higher truth that stands above every symptom, every diagnosis, and every physical report. Facts are real, but they are not final. Truth is greater than facts because truth has the power to change them. When you understand this, you stop allowing your body to dictate your reality, and you begin to bring your body into alignment with a truth that does not change. Most people live by what they feel and what they see. If their body feels weak, they say they are weak. If symptoms appear, they accept them as the final word. But faith does not submit to the evidence of the senses. Faith reaches beyond what is visible and holds on to what is already established in the unseen. It recognizes that there is a higher authority, a higher reality, and a higher truth that has already declared what belongs to you. Your body was never designed to lead. It was designed to follow. It responds to direction, and that direction comes through your words and your belief. When your words are aligned with truth, you begin to give your body new instructions. Instead of reinforcing sickness, you begin to establish health. Instead of agreeing with limitation, you begin to declare restoration. And your body, though it may resist at first, is created to eventually respond to that consistent direction. There is often a tension between what your body is saying and what truth declares. That tension can feel uncomfortable because it requires you to choose which voice you will agree with. Your body may be loud, persistent, and convincing, but truth is steady, unchanging, and powerful. The key is deciding that truth has the final authority, no matter how strong the opposing evidence may appear. Alignment does not happen by accident. It happens through intentional, consistent agreement with truth. Every time you speak words that reflect that truth, you are moving your body closer to alignment. You are reinforcing a new direction. And even if the change is not immediately visible, something is shifting beneath the surface. Your words are working. Your faith is being released, and your body is receiving new instruction. It is important to understand that alignment is a process, not always an instant event. There may be moments where it seems like nothing is changing, where the symptoms remain and where doubt tries to creep in. But this is where many people give up too soon. They stop speaking truth because they do not see immediate results. They return to speaking what they feel, and in doing so, they interrupt the very process that was leading to their breakthrough. Consistency is what bridges the gap between truth and manifestation. You continue to speak truth when it feels easy and when it feels difficult. You maintain your position when your body agrees and when it does not. You refuse to let temporary conditions determine your permanent confession, and over time, that consistency begins to produce visible change. Another important aspect is refusing to be moved by what you see. Your eyes can only report what is happening in the moment, but truth declares what is established beyond the moment. If you rely only on what you see, your faith will remain limited. But when you choose to rely on truth, you step into a higher level of authority where your words are not controlled by circumstances. As you continue to align your words and your belief with truth, your body begins to respond in ways that once seemed impossible. Strength begins to replace weakness. Order begins to replace disorder. What once resisted begins to yield because it is being confronted with something greater than itself. Truth does not adjust to the body. The body adjusts to truth when it is consistently spoken and firmly believed. One of the greatest obstacles to walking in healing is not the condition itself, but the habit of agreeing with it. Agreement is powerful. Whatever you consistently agree with, you empower. And many people, without realizing it, have formed a pattern of agreeing with their symptoms through their words, their thoughts, and their focus. They wake up and immediately check how they feel, and then they speak in line with that feeling. If pain is present, they talk about the pain. If weakness is there, they confess weakness. And in doing so, they reinforce the very condition they want to change. Symptoms are real, but they are not meant to be your authority. They are signals, not conclusions. The mistake many make is allowing those signals to become their confession. The moment you begin to speak what the symptom is saying, you enter into agreement with it. And agreement gives it a place to remain. But when you choose to break that agreement, you begin to remove its influence and establish a new direction. This does not mean you ignore what is happening in your body. It means you refuse to give it the final word. There is a difference between acknowledging a symptom and agreeing with it. Acknowledging recognizes that something is there, but agreement gives it authority. Faith does not deny the presence of a problem. It denies the problem the right to remain. And that denial is expressed through words that align with healing rather than sickness. When you start declaring healing, you are not just speaking positive words. You are establishing a new agreement. You are choosing to align yourself with a truth that is greater than what you feel. At first, this may feel unnatural because your body is used to hearing a different message. It has been conditioned by repeated words of limitation, fear, or doubt. But just as it was conditioned in one direction, it can be reconditioned in another. Your words become the tool of reconditioning. Every time you declare healing, you are sending a new message to your body. You are interrupting the old pattern and replacing it with something stronger. This requires consistency because patterns are not changed in a moment. They are changed through repetition. The more you declare healing, the more natural it becomes, and the more your body begins to respond to that new direction. There will be moments when symptoms try to intensify, almost as if they are resisting your new direction. This is often where people become discouraged and fall back into old patterns of agreement. But this is actually a critical moment. Instead of backing down, this is where you stand firm. You continue to declare healing even when the symptoms seem louder. You refuse to let what you feel dictate what you say. It is also important to guard your environment. The words you hear from others can influence your agreement. If you constantly surround yourself with negative reports, fear-filled conversations, or doubt, it becomes more difficult to maintain your own declaration. This is why you must be intentional about what you listen to and what you allow to shape your thinking. Your environment should support your agreement with healing, not pull you back into agreement with sickness. Another key is shifting your focus. Agreement is not just in your words, it is also in what you dwell on. If your attention is always on the symptom, your words will eventually follow. But if your focus is on healing, your words will begin to reflect that focus. You train your mind to stay on what you are declaring, not on what you are trying to overcome. As you continue to break agreement with symptoms and establish agreement with healing, something begins to change within you. Confidence grows, resistance weakens, and your words carry more authority. What once felt automatic, speaking about the problem, begins to lose its hold, and what once felt difficult, declaring healing, becomes your natural response. Many people have been taught, directly or indirectly, to measure their healing by how they feel. If they feel better, they believe they are getting healed. If they feel worse, they assume nothing is happening or that things are going in the wrong direction. But this way of thinking keeps them trapped in a cycle where their faith rises and falls with their emotions and physical sensations. True faith does not operate on that level. Faith is not moved by feelings. It stands firm on what it believes, regardless of what the body is communicating. Feelings are real, but they are unstable. They can change from moment to moment, influenced by circumstances, environment, and even thoughts. If you build your expectation of healing on something that unstable, your confidence will never remain steady. One moment you will feel encouraged, and the next moment you will feel defeated. This is why relying on feelings is not a reliable pathway to receiving healing. Faith provides a different foundation, one that is unchanging and consistent. Receiving healing by faith means you accept it as yours before you see it or feel it. It means you make a decision in your heart that healing belongs to you, and you hold on to that decision no matter what your body is telling you. This kind of receiving is not passive, it is active. It requires you to continually align your words, your thoughts, and your focus with what you believe you have already received. One of the challenges in this process is the delay that can sometimes exist between believing and seeing. During this time, feelings may try to contradict your belief. Symptoms may still be present, and your body may not yet reflect the change you are expecting. This is where many people become discouraged. They assume that because they do not feel different, nothing has happened. But faith understands that there is often a process taking place beyond what can be immediately perceived. Instead of allowing feelings to dictate your response, you choose to let your belief lead. You speak as someone who has already received healing, not as someone who is still trying to get it. Your words reflect confidence, not uncertainty. You declare strength even when you feel weak. You declare restoration even when discomfort is present. This is not denial, it is alignment with a reality that exists beyond your current experience. It is important to recognize that feelings will eventually follow faith when faith is sustained. They are not the starting point, but they can become the result. As you continue to stand in belief, as you continue to speak in alignment with healing, your body begins to respond. And when your body responds, your feelings begin to change as well. But by that point, your faith is no longer dependent on those feelings because it has already been established. Another key aspect is patience. Receiving by faith does not mean forcing immediate results. It means maintaining your position regardless of how long it takes for the manifestation to appear. Patience is not passive waiting. It is active consistency. It is continuing to believe, continuing to speak, and continuing to stand without allowing doubt to take root. You also guard your mind during this process. Thoughts will come that try to pull you back into a feeling-based approach. They will suggest that what you believe is not working because you do not feel a change. But you do not entertain those thoughts. You replace them with truth. You remind yourself that faith is not dependent on feelings and that what you have received by faith is already in motion, whether you feel it yet or not. As you continue in this way, something strengthens within you. Your faith becomes more stable, your words become more confident, and your focus becomes clearer. You are no longer reacting to every change in how you feel. Instead, you remain grounded in what you believe. And that stability becomes a powerful force that begins to influence your body in a consistent and undeniable way. There comes a point where faith must move beyond quiet belief and become bold declaration. It is not enough to believe silently while allowing your body to continue unchecked. Faith was designed to be expressed, and one of its most powerful expressions is a command spoken with authority. When you understand that your body is meant to respond to your words, you begin to speak differently. You no longer speak as someone hoping for change. You speak as someone enforcing it. Commanding with boldness is not about arrogance or emotional intensity. It is about confidence rooted in what you know to be true. When you are convinced that healing belongs to you, your words begin to carry a firmness that cannot be shaken by symptoms or circumstances. You are not asking your body for permission to be well. You are instructing it to align with what has already been established. This shift in mindset is crucial because it changes the posture of your faith from passive to active. Many people struggle in this area because they feel unqualified to speak with authority. They hesitate, they soften their words, or they turn their declarations into requests filled with uncertainty. But authority does not come from personal perfection. It comes from alignment with truth. When you stand on that truth, you have the right to speak with boldness. And your body recognizes that difference. It responds differently to a command than it does to a hesitant statement. Boldness also requires clarity. You are not vague in your words. You are specific. You speak directly to the condition, directly to the area of your body that needs to change, and you give it clear instruction. Instead of general statements, you begin to say exactly what you expect. You declare strength where there is weakness. You declare order where there is disorder. You declare life where there is anything trying to operate contrary to it. This kind of focused speech carries precision, and precision increases effectiveness. There may be moments when it feels uncomfortable to speak this way, especially if you have spent years speaking in a different manner. Your mind may question it, and your body may not immediately respond. But boldness is not developed by waiting for comfort. It is developed by action. The more you speak with authority, the more natural it becomes. What once felt unfamiliar begins to feel right, and what once felt difficult becomes your default response. Resistance can also arise, both internally and externally. Internally, thoughts may try to challenge your authority, suggesting that your words are not making a difference. Externally, circumstances may appear unchanged, creating pressure to go back to old patterns of speech. But this is where boldness must be maintained. You do not adjust your words based on resistance. You strengthen them. You continue to command with the same confidence, refusing to be moved by what you see or feel. Another important element is persistence. A single command, while powerful, is often not the end of the process. You continue to speak until alignment is fully established. This is not repetition out of doubt, but repetition out of determination. You are reinforcing the command, establishing it firmly, and refusing to let anything contradict it. Each time you speak, you are building momentum, and that momentum begins to shift things in a noticeable way. As you remain consistent in commanding with boldness, your awareness of authority grows. You begin to recognize that your words are not empty. They are effective. Your confidence increases not because of what you see immediately, but because of what you know is happening as you speak. This confidence fuels further boldness, creating a cycle where your faith and your words continue to strengthen one another. Over time, your body begins to respond more quickly and more fully to your commands. What once required effort begins to happen with greater ease. Alignment becomes more consistent and your expectation rises. You no longer question whether your body will respond. You expect it to respond because you have seen the pattern established again and again through your continued bold, faith-filled commands.